we have this, and then we have another one we're recording a little later, so we should probably jump into this.
Yes. Just give me a moment to actually get our notes fully pulled up. I ended up a little bit behind schedule, if only because I've, this is going to sound bad, but, I've had a life lately, which just means I haven't been on my computer much, so I quite literally had to actually turn on my computer because it had been sitting there not used for a couple days.
That's all right. Now, is this your new computer?
No, not yet. I have yet to do figuring out recording software, getting that all on the new computer. So our later episode that we are live streaming will be from that computer with the better quality camera and all of that.
Nice.
But not this one yet.
Okay. Well, we'll look forward to that upgrade. That'll be awesome.
Fingers crossed it works.
Yes. It's always great to try something for the first time when you're live.
Yeah. Shall we?
Yes.
Hi there, and welcome to Fantasy for the Ages, the show where father and son sit down and talk about books and fantasy. I'm the son of that equation, Zach.
And I'm the father, Jim. We're glad you're here with us today as we hit another section of a fantastic book, The Dragon Reborn, Book 3 in the Wheel of Time.
Woo, we're making it through.
We are, and we'll talk a little bit about that in just a moment, but first I want to know how you're doing today.
I'm doing pretty well. It's holiday season, being December and all. It's not quite necessarily to a lot of the various holidays associated with this season, but as such, last night my work had a holiday party thing, so I was just glad I didn't have to work this morning.
Okay, all right. So you had Christmas festivities.
Something like that. How are you doing, Dad?
I've been better. And to explain, I feel kind of achy and ucky today, so I don't feel achy and ucky to a greater degree later. Yesterday evening, I went and got my COVID booster. So I am feeling the general side effect. It's mild, but just, got the aches. Nothing else.
If you have any aches, pains, fever, headache, go ahead and take some Tylenol. It should mitigate those symptoms, and it'll pass within the next 24 to 72 hours.
Thank you, medical assistant, for all that excellent professional advice.
I mean, I might literally do what you just had done as my job. Oops.
But yeah, it's hard to get an appointment around here, actually. They're running out of stock very quick from when they post, at all the various Walmarts and Walgreens and Costco's and stuff. But I managed to book one the day, next day. So I got mine scheduled and got it done and did it just before weekend so I can be just at home. But of course, we do have a rather busy recording weekend. So
yeah, just a wee bit.
I am powering through. All right, well, that's me. Because of that circumstance, I do want to point out I am drinking water today. Only water. Yes.
Hydrate. That is a good thing.
That's painful. I like something a little more than water when we do this, but it is the way it is.
It's okay. I'll stick with you in solidarity. I'm not drinking water, but I am drinking just soda, nothing mixed in it. Because with holiday festivities last night, I woke up this morning and was like,
feeling
I don't really need to drink yet. We'll wait.
So this is going to be, the second of our dry episodes, I think. Hopefully it doesn't prove to be too boring. Speaking about those episodes.
Yes.
We are rapidly rushing towards the end of this book. We only have 3 episodes after this one on The Dragon Reborn. And we'll be done. Boom.
Wow.
The action is going to ramp up pretty quickly. We have some already in this particular episode, and the punches keep coming. I also want to point out to anyone listening to this that we have a special wrap-up episode planned for The Dragon Reborn, a live stream on YouTube that will be open to everyone, not just our Patreon supporters. So that'll be Saturday, January 8th, 10 a.m. Pacific time. We'd love to see a great crowd. We have 3 special guests joining us. Now, I'm not going to name them because I need to reconfirm they're still available. But we do have 3 people from 3 different podcasts who have all said they'd do it when I talked to them last month. So just going to reconnect, and we're going to have some great guests.
We'll still have 3 people, probably from 3 different podcasts.
Yes. And we're going to celebrate and talk about all the awesomeness of The Dragon Reborn, as well as some of the things from the first 2 books, but again, we won't spoil what is to come. The other thing I want to really highlight here about our podcast episodes is when this one drops, it'll be a full year of us podcasting.
That is insane. I was actually going to ask because I remembered we started sometime early-ish December or something like that, but I didn't remember when. So I was like, when did we actually start?
Yeah. Our first episode dropped somewhere in the teens of December, and here we are, December 11th. So when this one drops, it will be just past 1 year of Fantasy for the Ages episodes. So very cool. And think about how much we've done already in this past year. I mean, almost 3 full books of The Wheel of Time, but then all sorts of other fantasy and sci-fi goodness. We went from just 1 episode a week to getting in some extra episodes and then even some Patreon-only content. And over that time, check the numbers. I haven't looked at the numbers for a while.
Okay.
Over 47,000 downloads of our 77 episodes that are out there already. I mean, whoa!
Yeah. I'm sorry, I don't have words for that. I'm just very
appreciative.
That's a lot. And yeah. Thank you to everybody who listens, because I love talking with my dad. It's really a lot of fun. But the more we do this, the more we go, the more fun it is getting to keep you as a part of this. And it's a wonderful encouragement to keep doing it.
Absolutely. It also inspires us to keep thinking about what else can we do? How can we make this even better? And one of those ways we've been doing that is expanding our YouTube presence. So we're having more and more content that's video-based. We're kind of committed that all our midweek specials will now be video. We'll still drop the audio on our podcast feed, but if you want to see us talking about those things, just subscribe to our YouTube channel, which has 24 subscribers already, and that I expect will keep growing too.
And if Emmeline gets her way, at some point, we'll even expand into a musical episode.
Oh, we're planning. We're planning. I've still got my eyes on episode 100. Fantasy for the Ages, the musical. You mentioned Emmeline. She's with us here in the live recording today. We love all of the people who have joined us on our Discord server who are, like Emmeline, able to participate in additional ways. So we invite you to come join us. We just got another new person in Discord today. Someone who's first-time reader working through the Wheel of Time. We love connecting with other people who share our passion and then seeing all of you connect with each other. So come on over. You don't have to pay a thing to be on the Discord server. It's just be with friends, meet new people, travel the world without leaving your home, all that. The Discord invitation is in our show notes and in our Twitter bio, as well as on our website. So lots of ways you can find us on Discord.
And heck, even if you're like me and don't really talk that much and aren't that active, it's still a wonderful place to see other people post things, get information, funny jokes. Trust me, I'm on Discord a lot more often than it looks like I am.
It's true. Mostly Zach is one of those lurkers. But that's fine. There's a place for lurking, and he chimes in once in a while. I tend to be a lot more active. Like I don't have anything else to do? No, it's because I like having something to do there. So, lots of fun. And a year ago, I hadn't even heard of Discord. So, there you go. One last note here today. If you are enjoying the podcast and you like what you're hearing, tell other people, spread the word. Official ways you can do that, of course, is to give us a star rating, like on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to your content, maybe even write a review. We love to list those sorts of things here on the podcast. We haven't been able to read many reviews because not many people have written any. But if you do, we find it. We'll highlight you, give you a couple seconds of fame.
Definitely.
But, giving us a star rating, the more ratings we have, the higher we show up when people are searching for new podcasts to listen to. And, of course, you can also decide to keep us going by supporting us on Patreon. So if you're interested in seeing what that means and the fun things you can open up by committing as little as $1 a month to the podcast, check us out, Fantasy for the Ages, at patreon.com.
So that's all our business and notes and all of that out of the way. Shall we get to book stuff?
Let's do it. We're starting here at Chapter 48, Following the Craft. We left Matt and Tom as they were headed off to Tyr to save the bacon of our female trio. So here we are picking up with those ladies, Nynaeve, Egwene, Elaine.
Fantastic. Where are they?
Well, they're just pulling up to the dock in Tyr, and from Egwene's point of view, which is what we have here, it couldn't have been it couldn't have been soon enough. Oh my goodness, she is so seasick. She's sitting on the top of the deck, on the deck, just trying to hold on just a little bit more because they're, literally just kind of moving closer and closer to the pier. And she's better off than Nynaeve, who's down below with Elaine, and she figures Elaine is probably holding a bucket again. If you remember, this ship that they'd gotten on back in Jareen was not a fast one.
No.
Slow ships are sometimes impacted by the waves more than the fast ones. And so they've had this constant lumbering back and forth and rolling along. And yeah, their two stomachs haven't been able to take it.
I like to imagine it's not like they've had crazy swells or anything, but just over and over.
Yeah.
For a long time. Granted, I don't actually personally have a lot of experience with riverboats, some on the ocean, but this is a little different, and I know it rocks differently. I just don't know how.
Yeah. Of course, you do have experience with being seasick, as do
Once.
I, and that is not fun.
Just once.
So,
but yes.
We feel Egwene's pain, and we're glad for her and Nynaeve that they finally will be able to get off this boat.
Thank goodness.
Now, as Egwene is waiting for the torture to end, she recalls the frustration with how long this passage has taken, and it's doubly frustrating because they couldn't do anything about their mission. They're just sitting here on the boat. Every night, she'd been going back into Tilaran Riyadh using the dream Terangrial, and every night she has visions. She sees things that don't help at all. Besides going into the dream, she also has her regular dreams, and she is a dreamer. So there are a number of things that she highlights here that she's thinking to herself, all the things she noted. And in Robert Jordan's style, they are all foreshadowing.
Ooh, fantastic.
So a first-time reader should definitely pay attention.
Please.
Zach, what sorts of things does she see?
Well, a lot of things that I can't go into that much, including but not limited to more Shan-Chan. Is it trauma? Is it a dream? Who knows?
Oh boy, gotta love those Shan-Chan.
Also sees a white cloak, probably in the Two Rivers, considering it has Master Luhan, the blacksmith, in the middle of a trap. But he's not the one being trapped. He's the bait.
Yes.
So that's a problem. What's next, Dad?
Perrin. She sees Perrin with a falcon on his shoulder, just like from Min's vision.
Interesting.
And something about the importance of choosing between his battle axe and a blacksmith's hammer.
No idea what that could be about.
Right. She sees Matt dicing with the Dark One. And Matt seemingly shouting at her, right at her in her dream, over and over, I am coming! I am coming! Okay.
Weird.
Rand, she sees, sneaking towards Kalendor, that sword in the Stone of Tyr. And she sees as he's moving towards it, there are 6 men and 5 women walking all around the same area. Some of them seem to be hunting him. Some seem to be ignoring him. Some are actually guiding him towards Kalendor, and then others seem to be trying to stop him from reaching it. She doesn't know who these people are, except one that she recognizes by the fiery eyes, which would be, of course, who?
Ballsy.
Yeah, good old Balsamon. And she can sense, from her dream, Balsamon wants Rand dead. Dead. But again, no idea who the others are.
Speaking of Rand, we've got a couple more things concerning him in these dreams. He's apparently confronting a whole horde of Shan-Chan again. They're back at it again, never quite leaving her dreams. And then Rand is apparently confronting Egwene now. Rand's just very confrontational in these dreams. It's a problem.
Yes. But this image of Rand confronting Egwene, she's not alone when he does this. She has women with her, and she sees one of those women is actually a Shan-Chan with her. What? So the dreams are done. She's done thinking about that. The boat is up against the dock now. They're getting the horses and the possessions off of the boat onto the dock. The women are thrilled to have solid ground under their feet again. These women, of course, are not known as Egwene, Nynaeve, and Elaine.
No.
They have aliases.
That we will name and then abruptly forget.
We will totally forget. But why? Why are they using aliases again?
Well, they're most notably posing to not be themselves. In this case, on the boat, at least posing as Aes Sedai. But even beyond that, they're currently kind of on the run, walking into a trap where people would know them and who to be looking for. Just all these things together? Like, maybe don't use your real names.
Now, you said posing as Aes Sedai on this boat, and I don't believe they did. From the time they got onto Jureen, they've had their rings hidden. They're just 3 women traveling.
Was it just the first boat that they were hiding, that they were posing as?
The first boat that they were Aes Sedai, because that was a Tar Valon boat.
So not since the second boat.
Right, because they did not want loose lips. Once they got in, the sailors
loose lips
then talking,
sink
yeah, we
ships.
brought 3 Aes Sedai to Tyr. Yeah, it would be sinking them instead of the ships, though. So, yeah, they have names, and nobody remembers the names. Emmeline put in Discord, I have no idea. So, Egwene is Jocelyn, Nynaeve is Miriam, and Elaine is Carilla, or Carilla. Who knows? I don't remember how to pronounce it.
Doesn't really matter, because they're never going to use them.
That's exactly right. Their relief at being on solid ground soon shifts to concern and tension because they've got a task in front of them, a big one. They need to explore this city, one of the great cities of the world, so it's huge, to find the 13 Black Sisters that they believe are here.
Mm-hmm.
Where in the world do they begin? As they take stock of that task ahead of them, we get a description of the city that they see. What do we learn, Zach?
Well, so it's technically a great city. Tyr's boring.
It's not so great. It has one great thing. We'll talk about that in a moment.
But honestly, for the most part, it is a flat fishing town that is massive, but that's about it.
Yep. Lots of stone and wooden buildings. The region that's right closest to the dock, it's just got muddy streets and nothing looks very fancy. She can see in the distance some taller structures, the towers, balconies, domes. That's farther off. But the most significant thing in view is what?
The Stone of Tyr. The
Yes.
massive, much older than pretty much everything else around it, fortress of stone.
Right. Egwene has previously learned that the Stone of Tyr is currently the greatest fortress in the world, and it's also the oldest one, the first one built after the breaking of the world. And its size so dominates the city, it's like a small mountain.
Oh, yeah. Well,
right there in the center of town.
It's not exactly accurate, but I always like to think of El Capitan if it was jutting out of the middle of a city.
I like that. I do. Pretty sheer sides, this massive, tall thing. In fact, it's so large, it's hard for people to believe that it was actually built, as opposed to there literally just being a mountain here that they carved into. But nope, the stone was made with the One Power, using techniques that today's Aes Sedai, they've forgotten. They could not build this now. Which makes it very odd. The Lords of Tyr's perspective
Hate the One Power.
Yeah, they want nothing to do with One Power while dominating and having their power base based on a fortress built with the One Power.
It's look, are we going to use the things that were made by the One Power that benefit us? Absolutely. But do we like the things that could benefit us but don't because we can't directly control it? No. It feels like a very power-hungry, semi-misogynistic take that they have. But, yeah, it secures their power.
Yes, it does. So the women get on their horses to move into the city. Now, Egwene's not too thrilled to get on her horse, and she can sense neither is Nynaeve. Because when you're still feeling queasy, the last thing you really want to do is get on a horse.
Yeah,
and
you move from one type of motion to a different.
But the mud of the streets is so intense, they can't envision walking through it. Their shoes, their dresses would be an absolute mess. So they hop on the horses, which is made easier because we get the note that Elaine took a little needle and thread to their dresses and divided them.
Now they're riding
So they
dresses.
basically have big blousy pants. Not knowing how in the world they're going to find Leandrin and the others, Elaine suggests they employ a thief-taker. We're reminded that as the daughter heir of Andor, Elaine has knowledge and training regarding the way of things around the world. So this could be a good resource. She knows about thief-takers in Andor. She figures there are likely some down here in Tyr as well. And that would be a great way to find these women.
Now, help me out. A thief-taker is what? Basically a bounty hunter / repo man?
Pretty much. Yeah. Someone stole, and you go and find him and take back the stuff. Yep. A thief-taker typically would work for the lord of the land, for the powerful people, but she knows that in Andor, such people will also work for common folk. They'll work for anybody, who's been wronged, who's had something stolen, for a price.
Yeah.
So she's sure we can find someone like that here.
And that's the thing. When you started that explanation, it really felt like thief takers were going to be really good people. Then you mentioned the for a price part, and we go, oh, right, money.
Hey, people have to make a living. There's nothing wrong with that.
It's a living.
And when the authorities have failed you, you've got to turn to someone, and I don't think the A-team exists in the Wheel of Time, so thief takers will have to do. Egwene suggests that they take rooms at an inn, and request the innkeeper's help then in finding a thief-taker to hire. But Nynaeve's like, nope, we can't do that. Leandrin and the others of the Black Aja, they're probably watching the inns. Remember, we sense this is a trap that they've left for someone to follow, and they'd be watching for the likely places someone like us would show up. So, I've got a different idea. And being very Nynaeve, she doesn't explain it. She just leads them on her horse into this region, working their way through the muddy streets, passing a number of inns. Mm-hmm. We're going to learn that this part of Tyr, really the poorest section, is called the Mall. They don't use it at this part of the chapter, but that's okay. It's still easier to call it the Mall.
So this is where they go to go shopping or hang out if you're a delinquent teen. Back alley drug deals can be done here, but you have to avoid the mall cops.
Anybody of any resource is not going to hang out much in the mall. That's what they're sensing, though. The place is all falling apart. The people they see look pretty beaten down. Barely anyone even glances up as they go by.
So it's more like an outlet
mall.
Get
a little world... Really?
I can't help it.
Outlet mall. Well, what's bad is you're making all these mall jokes, and I hadn't caught any of them yet. I hear them now in the back of my head. Mall cops and all that. Nope, none of it was clicking until just that one. Dude. All right, what do we learn about Tyr as they travel along here? Well, it's clearly hot and humid.
Ew.
They see men walking along with flowing coats that are wide open or just vests. Often they have no shirts on underneath.
Oh.
Some of them don't even wear any shirt, anything on top at all. Just pants.
So apparently the no shirts, no shoes, no service thing, not a thing in Tyr.
Doesn't apply, because likewise, many of these guys aren't wearing any shoes. They're just squelching through the mud, and they wear their pants kind of tied up high, so they're not dragging through the mud, but they could be released once they were out of the mud and inside a building.
Situational capris.
Yeah, there you go. They also see many of them wearing conical straw hats, wide ones. I don't know, like Asian culture. I'm thinking working in the rice paddies, they often have those.
Yeah, the stereotypical rice farmer hat.
Yeah, that's what I'm envisioning these look like.
That has a name. I don't know what it is.
Me neither.
But I don't know a lot of hat names.
No. I know a fedora. You know a fedora. I know a top hat. I know a baseball cap. I know a fez. I know a few hat names, but I don't know this one.
Anyway.
Could be called straw conical hat.
Probably not.
Could be called rice hat. I don't know. This is the kind of climate where you would grow rice. Well, they also see some of the women wearing these hats, but a key difference is the women tend to wear them with color. They have accessorized. They match.
So they wear it, but better.
Yes. There, Emmeline dropped one in the Discord for us. And I think that one is colored. It's kind of a pinkish red.
Or it's just a light, but either way, He's pulling it off.
He is. She still has no idea what it's called, though. All right, that's our research. We'll put the research team on it. It's not a rice hat. Okay. So they also see one other accessory that some of the women are using. Rather than going barefoot, they actually wear shoes. And their shoes have small wooden planks tied to them, so that basically it turns their footing into snowshoes, like for snow, but I guess we call them mud shoes. They're able to stay on top of the mud and not get sinking down and dirtied.
Super increasing the surface area.
Right. Now, eventually, Nynaeve turns off the road, riding her horse down the narrow alley between buildings, and dismounts at the back of a building and approaches the door, where she just goes up and knocks. She still hasn't clued in the other two as to why here, what are you doing? And they ask, and she says, well, I saw herbs hanging in the front window. That's a sign that this is probably one of the, what they call a wisdom here. Okay, someone who can go ahead. Oh my goodness.
It's called a rice hat.
Emmeline found proof online. It's called a rice hat. Awesome. Now, it's only Wikipedia, but Wikipedia is pretty accurate because someone goes in and fixes it right away. You know, people love finding stuff people wrote that was wrong and fixing it.
You know, it would be really, really nice if you could have told any and all teachers who ever outlawed and banned Wikipedia as a source that it was usually pretty accurate. Just like rewind time and do that for me, please.
When I was a principal, I did suggest that to teachers, though they were fine to require more sources than just Wikipedia, but that they ought to include Wikipedia as an additional source.
I'm pretty sure at best I only ever had teachers tell me you could use Wikipedia as a starting point and use their references to find other sources that you could use, but you could not use Wikipedia.
Well, then you're still using Wikipedia. Because you're right. They list all those references and you follow them and wow, tangent, baby. Oof. I will also notice in that Wikipedia reference, it starts by saying it was an Asian conical hat, which I said maybe they just call it a conical straw hat. You know, so it's called both. Conical hat, rice hat. There's a few other names that are listed, but anyways, let's get back to talking about what's going on here now.
Back to Nynaeve and going into what she believes is a wisdom shop, or whatever counts as a wisdom.
Yes. Now, as they're waiting for someone to answer the door, there's a humorous comment here. Egwene is tying up her horse, Mist, next to Nynaeve's horse, which Nynaeve has named Gaideen. So basically, Nynaeve is riding Gaideen, and Egwene thinks that's a little blatant in her name choice. Why, Zach? What should we remember?
Why? It's just like the old tongue name of the warders. Like, she's riding a warder. I don't know what you're talking about. She's in the saddle on top of a warder. It's fine.
Oh man, when I came across that in my preparations this time, I was like, yeah, wow. She wants to ride a warder.
Dad, I don't know what you're getting at. We're not that kind of podcast.
But I think this is about as obvious and blatant as Jordan ever gets at hinting at such innuendo. But anyways, the door opens, and they are initially greeted with suspicion.
As they should be, because when random strangers come knocking at your door, you're not just like, oh, you're awesome, come have a cup of tea. No, you're like, who are you?
Yeah, she could clearly tell they were not from around here, so what do you want? You know, a few questions, though, clarify things, and she invites them in. So we've learned her name is Mother Gwenna, and she is like a wisdom, though here it's called a wise woman.
Ah, so there is such a thing as a wise woman. It's not you just accidentally saying wise one wrong.
I was just doing it too early. Nynaeve requests something for her sour stomach. That's the pretense that she gives for wanting some help, but it's legit. She does have a sour stomach. So the woman gets busy preparing a tea to help. Now, while she's preparing that tea, they start having conversation, and a few things happen here. We learn some stuff.
This is one of the few times that I feel like Nynaeve, Egwene, and Elaine are kind of subtle about the things they want and they're trying to figure out. They usually are more blatant about just, being direct and asking it. But here they do a good job of talking around things.
Yeah. So Nynaeve asks about whether the rain and mud will last. And Mother Gwenna states she's no sea folk windfinder. What's the implication a reader should note from that, Zach? Because we don't have a lot of information about that. Hint, hint, there will be more to come on that, on what a sea folk windfinder means.
I'd say...
But what might they infer?
Probably two things there. One, the implication kind of being, if Mother Gwenna can actually answer this question, she might be able to channel or something, because that was kind of the first sign with Nynaeve. But then, if Mother Gwenna understands what's being asked of her, and she says she's no sea folk windfinder, maybe they can. Whoever they are.
Maybe the sea folk windfinders have a reputation for being able to predict the weather. Could be. We don't know much about that yet. I thought it was a pretty good leading question from Nynaeve, since she knows back in the Two Rivers, people like her who can listen to the wind. Yeah, were often wisdoms, but also sometimes could channel. Yeah, but that reaction is really strong. And so we get a next kind of revelation here. That she says even if she could read the weather, she'd never admit it. The defenders would consider that the next thing to Aes Sedai work. So, reasonable guess on who these defenders are? I mean, I'm pretty sure they're not Iceman, Doctor Strange,
No.
The various Marvel team members who come along. Or was that now in the newer version Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist?
That and Daredevil. But no, this is more defenders of the stone. As I can understand it, this is what passes for police, guards, and some mixture that might be a little less savory in this city and place.
We've learned before that Tyr has no patience for people channeling here.
No.
So yeah, if she could read the wind, it might be considered as bad as being an Aes Sedai. They might haul her off to jail or run her out of town.
Or worse.
She'd never admit it. Nynaeve had asked some knowledgeable questions about the herbs that Mother Gwenna is putting into the tea. And from that, Mother Gwenna suspects she might follow the craft. A particular phrase and also the name of the chapter. What does she mean, follow the craft, Zach?
Oh, she's obviously asking if Nynaeve knows a lot about drugs, their production, and distribution. Technically, I have not said anything wrong.
That's right. My name is Heisenberg. That's good. All right, well, from this, it flows into a detailed conversation about herbs and potions, basically starting with Mother Gwenna quizzing Nynaeve on what do you use for this? What would you do if this is what somebody's ailing from? And kind of peppers her with some things. And Nynaeve comes back with answers that are spot on and then flows into other information she knows about those things. And they go back and forth talking about this stuff and get completely lost in the conversation on something they are both quite passionate about.
Nerds.
Totally. Herb nerds. Right here. Wise nerds.
They're buds.
Oh. Okay. Mother Gwenna quizzes Nynaeve on all these things, and she clearly passed the test. It's obvious she knows what she's doing. They could, at this point, talk all night when Egwene breaks in and says, could we talk about some other things? They're just getting totally left out of the conversation. And of course, there are some other things kind of important to talk about.
I guess, maybe.
The rest of the chapter accomplishes the following. Mother Gwenna and the girls actually come to enjoy each other's company. Mother Gwenna is much older than they are. Like, they could be her daughters. She might even have daughters, sons older than them. So it's kind of a mother figure clicking with these three girls. Over the course of that conversation, she shares her actual name, Iolwyn. Please feel free to call me that one. Now, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right. Could be Aelhwyn. Something like that.
There's a lot of names in this series, and I'm not going to pronounce most of them right.
Nynaeve asks if there might be a room they could rent here in her place. And Iolwyn has 3 rooms available, as a matter of fact, from her children who are all grown and gone. And she's a widow, she shares. So it's just her in this big old house. So she says, I'd be happy to let you stay, and there'd be no charge, assuming you tell me the real story of why you're here. You're clearly from elsewhere. You ride in on very fancy horses. Looking at you, I can tell. I mean, that you there, girl, with the reddish blonde hair, you're clearly Andoran. What's going on? If I'm satisfied with your story, I'll be happy to just let you stay. So, Nynaeve goes and tells the story. However, she uses perfect Aes Sedai talk. She never tells a lie, but she implies many things.
But she never says anything near what the actual truth is.
She doesn't tell Eowyn anything more than she needs to know, and she leaves enough vagueness so that Eowyn is able to draw conclusions that are beyond what's really the truth. Why don't you break down the details for us, Zach? What does Nynaeve actually reveal?
Well, they're chasing some people. Those people stole things. Specifically stole them from their mother.
Their mother. True. Very true.
Those people also did murder.
Yes.
And those who might have come chasing after them, instead of these Nynaeve, Elaine, and Egwene, well, they were killed.
Right. I mean, Nynaeve, of course, means the Aes Sedai who were murdered. Because clearly if they were killed, they weren't Black Aja. So they could have been trusted to chase after them.
Yeah, but is that direct? No, not at all.
Eowyn assumes they're talking about the menfolk, like your husbands or brothers, that they were the ones who were killed. And yeah, Nynaeve doesn't correct that misunderstanding.
It's a whole mess. But the final kind of really hinged bit that Nynaeve tries to put in here is that the ones that they're following, these people who stole, they're dark friends. Dangerous women.
Yes.
So they can't, Elaine, Egwene, and Nynaeve, they can't just go to an inn or be somewhere normal and out and about, because then those dark friends might know that they were onto them. And that'd be dangerous for everybody.
In fact, they're probably assuming somebody's chasing after them and would be on the lookout. So, yep, we need to be on the down low somewhere. Now, Eowyn, she dismisses the danger that dark friends might pose. With the Dark One locked away by the Creator, everyone knows dark friends are just a bunch of fools. You don't really need to worry about them. So she agrees to lodge them, and she can actually help them to track down these people by seeking out a dangerous man that she happens to know, who she believes would likely assist them. A thief catcher named Juilin Sandar. Note, a thief catcher, not a thief taker, as Elaine had mentioned.
All right.
Eowyn is sure Juilin can find those stolen items and recover them for the girls, and they won't even need to go anywhere near the Dark Friends. And with proof of the stolen items, then they could probably contact the Defenders of the Stone and get justice for the murders that were done.
So am I hearing that the distinction between a thief catcher and a thief taker is that a thief catcher catches the thieves in whatever they're doing and takes their stuff, whereas the thief taker actually takes the thieves themselves? I'm confused.
Actually, even after reading this as many times as I have, I don't really think there's much difference between a thief catcher and a thief taker.
As far as I can tell, maybe it's a cultural verbiage difference or something.
Yes.
They call them something different in Tyr than Andor. Oh.
And they don't want to have it mixed up. We'll see later on Juilin being offended that they would think of him as a thief taker. It's no, I'm a thief catcher. It's all the world of difference. But in what they actually do, I don't think there's any difference.
I'm not going to say the thing that I was about to say, because any listeners who have either of the jobs I was going to say might get offended, and I would feel bad.
Thank you for not offending our listeners. With that, Eowyn attaches a couple of those platforms to her shoes. She calls them clogs. And out she goes into the muck to seek Juilin Sandar. Now, once she heads off, Egwene, who was feeling very uncomfortable with all the manipulation she was sensing in the way Nynaeve was using specific words, she kind of reads Nynaeve her rights, calling her as bad as Moraine at manipulating people. And Nynaeve, she's shocked, she's angry, but it's Elaine who walks up and slaps Egwene right across the face and says, "You've gone too far." And Egwene's like, "Wow, she's got a swing." Ow.
Yeah, that's not very nice.
Yeah, Elaine is stepping up for Nynaeve, saying, hey, Nynaeve had no choice there. What, you think we should have just told her? Oh yeah, we're after 13 Black Sisters here who stole stuff out of the White Tower and are ready to kill anybody who tries to catch them? No, we can't actually say that. Egwene, properly chastened, notes, well, I don't have to like that we're doing this.
You're right,
And
you
Elaine
don't.
agrees. Yeah, I don't like it either. But it is necessary. And that's the end of that chapter.
Sometimes you gotta do something you don't love because otherwise you are dead. So,
Or could lead to other people being dead. So they continue on now, right into chapter 49, called A Storm in Tyr. And we're still in Egwene's point of view for this chapter, at least when it starts. And a little bit of time has passed. She's been considering she probably owes Nynaeve an apology, but she has not been able to bring herself to let the words out.
So when I hear a little bit of time here, we're talking like maybe a couple hours, not like a couple days.
Yeah, it's the same afternoon. I don't even know if it's been a couple hours. Might have been 30 minutes. They've just been waiting for Éowyn to get back.
It's a new scene.
Yes, but it wasn't immediate. She's had time to ponder her foolishness. And we have time to acknowledge that, yeah, Egwene and Nynaeve, they've continued to be really catty and judgy of each other. They seem stuck in a nasty cycle that they just can't get out of. And Elaine remains frustrated about it. At this point, Éowyn does return, though, with Juilin Sandar.
Welcome.
Now, he's not a swordsman. This is a thief catcher who has a sword breaker at his side. We may remember that Huron from Shannara had a sword breaker. He also had a sword, but he had a sword breaker that he'd use. So a sword breaker, something that, you could catch a sword in it and twist and potentially damage or snap it or fling the sword out of a person's hand. You could also use it just to bludgeon someone. It's a nice solid tool, but it's not a sword.
See, I have to kind of wonder what exactly does this look like, because there's a number of swordbreaker instruments throughout history that are cool. I know that. But they also do make, at various times throughout history, there have been versions of swordbreakers that were like attachments into other weapons, like other swords and other things. So is this a dedicated swordbreaker, or is this like it functions as a dagger or something and has extra prongs that make it a swordbreaker? Because that'd be cool too.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I just pulled off the internet, real quick little search, an example of a swordbreaker.
And it's a dagger.
And this one is kind of looks like a weapon.
That one side is sharp.
Like a dagger.
But the back side is a swordbreaker.
It's got all these little grooves, these teeth.
So maybe it's just double-sided and it looks like a comb?
You could definitely still stick someone with the pointy end.
He's just carrying around a massive comb. That's what I'm going with from now on.
There you go. Now, the thing is, we learn here that he doesn't carry a sword, only the sword breaker, because swords aren't allowed for the common folk. Only lords and outlanders who are sufficiently rich, wealthy people will be carrying swords. If he was to carry a sword, he would be arrested, tossed into the Stone of Tyr, never to see the light of day. You just don't do that.
Well, that would be one way to get in.
That would, but he does not want to get in. He's quite happy to stay free and in charge of his own destiny.
Autonomous.
There you go. The man, Juilin, he spends some time just staring at them, kind of looking them over, thinking about what he's seeing. He's also clearly thinking about what Mother Gwenna, Éowyn, already told him about them. And after a sufficient pause, he says, all right, I believe I could help you. I think I would be willing to do that, assuming the High Lords don't have me too busy. Now, Éowyn, she chastises him at that comment. She's like, really? Some women in need and you're going to haggle to raise the price? You don't know when the Lords are ever going to call you. And he's like, no, legitimately, I'm not trying to haggle. I've seen men on the rooftops. And when you see men climbing rooftops, usually that's no good. And I expect there's going to be some theft happening soon. And when that happens, I'm the first guy they call.
I mean, I was going to make some comment about like a parkour league starting up, but that doesn't feel very accurate. Then again, maybe they're just really trying to avoid walking through the muddy streets by running across rooftops.
Yeah, every time I hear someone running across rooftops, I think of Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure he's right that it's not something that's just perfectly innocent.
Yeah.
And it is of note, first-time readers should be aware, this is where it's first mentioned, there's people being seen on the rooftops. So, okay, I'm just saying, he says, that I might be busy soon, so if I'm going to help you, we should just get right to it. I don't know how long I will be available.
Well, that works for us.
So they get down to the details. Jewelin admits, I'm kind of curious. I've known women thieves, and I've known bands of thieves, but I've never heard of a band of women thieves. So,
Jewelin,
yeah,
you clearly haven't been out enough. It's all about those bass playing and drummer women. They're really cool. The lead singers are pretty cool as well, but it's when you fill out the rest of the band of women thieves that it gets really interesting.
Wow, dude. That's as bad as your mall jokes. Oh my goodness.
And we thought it couldn't get worse.
We were wrong. All right, getting down more to these details, let's talk price. Jewelin shares he has two prices that they can consider here. One is 1/10 of the value of the stolen goods he recovers. And the other alternative is a silver mark for each person he is asked to find. Now, he encourages them to go with option A. He's not greedy. You need these things back that were stolen. I can go ahead and get those, and you've already told Mother Gwenna that they're not really valuable to anyone but you. So then that won't cost you very much. However, Nynaeve, she pulls out 13 silver marks.
Yeah.
Hands them to him saying, no, we're going to hire you to find the women. And here's the deal. Only find the women. Don't catch the women. Don't take them. Just find them. Come back and report to us, and then I will pay you 13 more silver marks for having done as we requested. We will take care of recovering our stolen goods once we know where they are.
Nynaeve, you were doing really good at being subtle, and now you've just launched into the territory of sus. So...
Seriously. And Jewelin, he's really taken aback by this. Like, what? And he assures her, no, miss. You do not need more money than I asked. 13 would be just fine. I won't accept bribes. I can be trusted. You don't have to double my pay. Nynaeve's like, no, I'm clear on this. I'm the one paying. I get to decide what I will pay you. But I have to emphasize, find them only. Don't interact with them. Don't try to take them. I must insist. If you won't agree to that, we're out, okay? We'll go find someone else to help. He's like, no, fine, okay. I'll agree. So then Nynaeve launches into a description of all 13 Black Sisters in great detail, giving no names, which of course would be pointless because they'd probably use aliases, just giving very detailed details of what they look like.
It helps that they have detailed depictions.
Concluding the conversation, Nynaeve again doubles down on the danger of these women, that there's over a dozen deaths on their hands, and assures him if they discover you're searching for them, you're a dead man. And if you're taken by them, before they kill you, they're going to make you tell where we are, which means we're probably dead, and since we're staying here with Mother Gwenna, she's probably dead. Now, both he and Mother Gwenna are really? Come on. That serious? But Nynaeve is, believe it! Don't mess around with this!
Like, I'm not going to tell you the actual details that will explain why this is true, but you need to believe it's true.
I think she's made her point emphatically enough, because Jewelin says, okay, I'll agree. Heck, I will act as if these women are all Aes Sedai and Black Aja.
Good.
And Egwene's like, just about chokes. He's sure he can find these 13 women. They're probably staying together somewhere, and it shouldn't take very long. So off he goes. The rest of the day passes. Nighttime comes. As it gets late, Eowyn shows them to their rooms up on the second floor. Then she returns to her bedroom on the main floor. And when she's gone, the three girls all gather with Egwene. And Egwene, she's going to go in to tell around Riyadh. Now, she's feeling a little nervous about this. Because, well, we're actually right here in Tyr now. Mm-hmm. We're close to Kalendor that, has been big in the dream. we're close to whatever trap might be here. She's just not sure what might happen going into Teleron Riyadh here.
But nonetheless, she does, and so do we.
Yeah. She wakes up in the dream in that lovely forested pastoral setting that she's seen before. But she's grown some skills over time. So she closes her eyes and she pictures herself back in the Stone of Tyr in the heart of the stone and opens her eyes and she's there. And there's Kalendor. But seated cross-legged on the floor in a circle around Kalendor are 13 women. One of whom then immediately turns and looks at Egwene. It's Leandrin. And she sees her, and she smiles.
Well,
and Egwene, in shock, she's just, oh, and somehow wakes up. She, yanks herself out of the dream.
That's not good.
Yeah, yanks herself so hard, she literally gasps, jumps, and almost falls out of bed. And the girls are like, what's wrong? You're just falling asleep. Egwene is puzzled at how she woke up, because that's not something she'd been able to do. When she went to bed here, she said, let me sleep for an hour and wake me up. Because ever since that first time where she couldn't get out, she's always said, okay, you're my timer. Wake me up after this much time. But here, she woke herself up. So that would be cool. That would be cool to know how to do.
Turns out it is possible.
But what she tells the girls is, well, I woke up because I saw the Black Sisters. They're here. They're waiting for us. And they know we're here. And at that moment, it's like perfect Hollywood movie.
Thunder, lightning.
A storm breaks.
Well, you don't want to go out in the mud now.
At this point, the chapter shifts to a different point of view. And we jump over to Matt.
Welcome back, Matt.
Yeah. He and Tom are sitting playing stones in the captain's cabin of a ship, the Swift.
Not the same ship as last time.
No. This is the one they'd gone back to Erengil for and found a ship, and they had hired this one. And we get the point. They hired this at great expense because Matt wants to get to Tyr as fast as possible. The name of the ship being the Swift proves quite accurate. They've been just zipping along down the river. Even so, Matt's frustrated, and Nancy, it's like, we can't get there soon enough. The women are in trouble. Gotta get there. So as they're playing stones, Matt keeps losing. Tom mentions, you've got a bit of a mind for strategy, but you don't seem to apply yourself. If you would, I think you could do a lot better at something like this. The captain comes in at this point. He's complaining again, so we get the sense he's complained before, at how much speed they demanded.
Mm-hmm.
This could destroy my ship. I could have run up on something.
It's true.
But, all right, good news. We're here. We are just pulling up to the dock here in Tyr, and I want the rest of my money. So apparently Matt had paid half up front, an exorbitant amount of gold, and now the captain is here to collect the rest, which Matt does give, which does not leave him with all that much money left, because we get from this, Matt was hoping to do as he's done before, pay plenty, get the captain's cabin, everything's wonderful, and then gamble to win a lot of it back. Well, it turns out this captain doesn't gamble.
Yeah, it wasn't so much that Matt's luck didn't hold, but rather he met someone who is fiscally responsible.
Matt and Tom gather their things. Matt throwing his all-weather cloak over his bags. So he's got his bags, on his shoulders and then puts the cloak on. And the significance of that is that he wants to make sure those things stay dry. With his bags under his cloak, he can't pull the cloak closed. So his front's going to get wet in the storm. Because this is something that this POV started with when they're riding into Tyr. There's a rainstorm going on, a really heavy downpour. We're supposed to pick up on the fact that this is the same exact night where the girls were just
that same
there.
Rainstorm.
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
The good news here, Matt may be getting wet. The fireworks are not.
That's what's so important. He'll dry, but in his tests with the fireworks, he'd actually tried getting one wet and see if he could dry it out and if it would still work, and no, that ruins it completely. So he has no interest in letting those get wet. He's got them rolled up really tight in a bag, and that's under his cloak. He's taking good care of those. As they prepare to leave the cabin, Dern, the ship captain, asks, okay, so now that we're here and you've paid up, what was this all about? He's still kind of amazed just how much Matt was willing to pay to get here this fast. Matt responds, that's about a wager. One with more than a flaming kingdom resting on it.
That is technically
Which
true.
is true. Remind us, What wager is he referring to?
Technically, would this not be the wager with good old Basil Gill?
No.
Technically.
He referenced the wager to Basil
Well,
Gill.
he tossed him some money.
Yes, and he told Gill this is about a wager.
Technically not with Gill, but he's the one holding the stake.
Yes. So who is he gambling against?
The Lord Gabriel.
Yes. So he needs to win this. This is huge. Matt and Tom move through the mud of the mall then, in the midst of a massive downpour, and they have no clogs or horses.
No, they are swimming through the muck.
Yes, they are. And they're looking for an inn, and it's kind of hard going through all this gross stuff. Matt intends to head out looking for the girls as soon as they find an inn and get settled. Because he's afraid Komar may already be here, and there's no time to waste. Tom assures Matt, son, there are hundreds of inns in Tyr. It'll take weeks to search them all, and if Komar is here, he's surely not out searching in the middle of this storm. But Matt shakes his head. No, we have to start searching as soon as possible. Working through the mall, he states to Tom, one thing though, we can forget about searching this place, the mall. This is gross. It's muddy, it stinks. Can you picture those girls actually staying somewhere in here? Tom is not so sure. He's like, you might be surprised, but you could be right.
It's like, you could be right, or they could be smart enough to realize that you would never look for them here, so they're here.
Well, again, women and men underestimating each other. But I wanted to emphasize the fact that Tom coughs after making his statement here. It's notable. As they continue on through the rain, his cough seems to pick up a little bit. They make it through the official gates of the city, so the mall is resting outside of the walls, the gates. And not much further past those gates, they come to a perfectly respectable inn, the White Crescent.
No, try again.
No, it's actually the White Crescent. My notes are wrong.
I liked your notes better.
My notes don't make any sense.
No, it's fun, though.
Autocorrect.
The Wine Crescent,
The Wine Crescent. The Wine Crescent, yeah. No, the White Crescent. They get settled in, and then Matt prepares to head back out into the storm. And he's surprised that Tom actually follows him. He's like, I thought you were going to stay here, rest, get your eye. Emmeline thinks the Wine Crescent would have been a better name.
See?
She did. She agrees with you. Yeah. So Tom says, yeah, I wanted to stay where it's dry, but if you're searching, I'm coming with, because I don't want to see anything happen to the girls. And honestly, as a gleeman, and he's got his gleeman cloak with him, people are more likely to open up and talk to me. People like a gleeman.
Who are you going to open up to? The kindly old gleeman or the dirty sourpuss Matt?
Yep. He's not so sour anymore,
No,
but he does look dirty. His clothes are not fancy.
Matt has RBF. Okay?
RBF. All right, here we got some young slang that I do not recognize. Educate me. Emmeline doesn't know it either.
RBF is resting bitch face.
Ouch. Wow. Oh, we're not going to tell you why we're laughing now. You got to come join us in a live recording to better understand. Okay, they start working their way through the inns. Inn after inn. They look through dozens of them. They look all through the night. They're not having any luck. Finally, Tom stops Matt at one point and says, boy, we've got to call it quits for today. You've walked past the last 3 inns without even stopping. You're dead on your feet. Matt's like, what, really? I walked past 3? Well, okay, maybe you're kind of right, but, oh, hey, we're standing in front of another inn. Tell you what, let's look at this last one right here. It's called the Golden Cup. And if they're not here, if no one's seen anything, then we'll call it quits for today.
And wouldn't you know it, as luck would have it, they step in and Matt sees, not the woman, unfortunately, but possibly better, Komar.
Yes. Busted. Lord Komar is sitting at a table playing a game of dice. He's clearly been winning, and the man sitting across from him looks rather down in his luck. Komar is shaking the dice one last time. He seems quite confident, and as he drops the dice, he starts laughing and asking for who's next practically before it stops rolling, like he knew he was going to win. And he did. That man's done. His coin is gone. Matt has an impulse to just take his quarterstaff and go over and brain the guy.
It'd be effective.
But in a moment of wisdom, perhaps, he decides to get a feel of the place. What's going on here? He walks over to the innkeeper. And talking with the innkeeper, he learns a few things. First of all, no one's happy Komar is here. Dressed as he is, and he's wearing a sword. We've already learned people don't get to wear swords here, but he's clearly from outside Tyr, and he's dressed richly. They assume he's a merchant with coin. And so in the structure of Tyr, that means he can pretty much do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
The innkeeper's mad that he chose to come and hang out in this inn. Like, there are other inns in town that would be more appropriate for someone of this station.
Definitely.
And yet he's here using his dice to basically rob everyone blind. Because no one seems to be winning. He's rude, he's arrogant, he's pinching the serving ladies. Matt's like, well, does he always win? It's like, well, no, he's lost a few times, but always when it was for practically nothing. Whenever the stakes have gotten bigger, he always wins those. And so he basically has been cleaning everyone out. Tom comments on weighted dice. What's he mean, Zach? What's going on here?
Well, Komar is not cheating all the time. Plenty of the time he's using normal dice and whatever, but plenty of the other times when the stake is high, a little quick move of the hand, switch out the dice that are in there for something else, go ahead and roll with weighted dice when it is actually bigger stakes, and you've cheated your way into a big win.
Matt already had a chance to observe a little of the game that was playing, and it looks like they're all using the same dice. So he's like, how can it be weighted dice if they're rolling with the same dice? And Tom asks for some dice, and he demonstrates for them. Right there for the innkeeper and for Matt. And he just shows how easy it is, if you know what you're doing, to do a little sleight of hand. He has, on the one set of dice, he has Matt make a little mark on each one. And then he takes them and shakes them and he rolls them and says, check for your mark. And there's no mark on the dice. Right in front of them, Tom was able to switch the dice on him. Says, that's what Komar's doing. He's not using the same dice as the other guy. Oh, once in a while he might, but not on the real ones, not on the big ones. That's why he's winning. He's switching it out with weighted dice.
Tom also just showed don't play dice with Tom because he's way too good at cheating.
That's what Matt thinks, absolutely. I don't want to play dice with him after all. Matt suggests, well, okay, so he's cheating. You all know he's cheating. Why don't you call the city watch, or whatever you call him here, and have him arrested? And the innkeeper explains, no.
See, here's the problem, Matt. He's rich.
And that means what in Tyr?
He can do whatever he wants.
Money and power talks. Yep. Matt's like, well, what if I exposed him? And the innkeeper's, no, you just don't get it. For someone like me, just a regular schmuck, I cannot denounce such a wealthy merchant. They will always believe his word over mine. And I'll end up being the one in prison. So, with this info, Matt decides, well, I'm going to take matters in my own hands then. Because I'm not about to let Komar go free, only to catch up with the girls. So he walks over to Komar, and Tom's like, boy, do you know what you're doing? But nope, Matt he's got a plan now. He leans his quarterstaff against the table and takes a seat across from Komar. Now, Komar takes one look at him, this dirty farmer, and makes some insults about, what, are you going to bet some copper pennies? Or did you steal something and you think you can play? But Matt just pulls out an Andoran gold mark and sets it down on the table. Now, that's a lot more than what was already being bet in the previous games that he was watching. So probably nobody else here in the inn had enough to wager a gold crown.
Mm-hmm.
But here's Matt. And the guy's like, well, you may not have much for manners, but money talks. All right, let's do this. And Komar picks up the dice, shakes them in his cup, drops them out, and it's what might just be a winning toss.
That's pretty good.
Very strong roll. And before he can do anything else, Matt jumps out there and scoops up the dice. So he's got the same dice. And he's shaking them now to roll. What is Matt planning to do by grabbing and making sure he had the same dice?
Well, you got two sides of this. One, he's made it a little more even in terms of he's not exactly going to lose that roll by having pure chance decide based upon that he's not using a fair set versus an unfair set. But also, if they're really, really badly weighted to the point where it's not just weighted to be good rolls, but weighted to be the same roll, every time. You get like 4 of those in a row. It's pretty ridiculous.
That's right. He figures in this way he can expose Komar as a cheat. However, as he tosses the dice, they bounce oddly. And Matt feels something like shifting. And to his thoughts, it's like his luck is going wild. That's what comes to mind. And the dice, when they come up, they don't come up in that same roll. They come up in the best possible roll.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt wins.
So they were weighted for like a step down from it, and yet they got something different and better.
Yeah. Komar, his eyes are bugging out at this. It's like, that can't have happened. That's impossible. Because he knows. Weighted dice. And then we get a true badass moment. So I thought we should read this back and forth here. So I'll start. You lose, Matt said softly. I think your luck is about used up, Komar. If you've harmed those girls, it's all gone.
I have not even found, Komar began, still staring at the dice, then jerked his head up. How do you know my name?
Go back to Camelin, Komar. Tell Gabriel you could not find them. Tell him they are dead. Tell him anything, but leave Tyr tonight. If I see you again, I'll kill you.
Who are you? The big man said unsteadily. Who?
And at that point, Komar draws his sword, jumps up, and attacks. It's a furious move, and Matt barely defends it. But the quick result, because this does not take very long, is that Komar is overpowering Matt. Matt rolls backwards, dragging Komar with him, using his feet for leverage to flip Komar completely over his head. And Komar crashes down on the ground behind him. Matt scrambles back up, quarterstaff in hand, and turns and realizes Komar's not doing anything anymore.
Nope.
He sees Komar just laying there. He landed on his back on the edge of a table that had been overturned, and it appears in a freak accident, in a sense. He broke his back.
That's not good.
He's just laying there. His arms are dangling. His sword's right there within grasp, but he's not moving at all. The only thing you can see is him looking at Matt. So he's still alive, but he can't move. Dang. Matt tells Komar, I told you, you should have left. Komar manages to make a few last deathbed comments.
Deathbed comments? You mean he is dying?
He isn't the only one hunting for the girls.
That's sad.
Matt's like, what do you mean there's others hunting the girls? But Komar can't answer anymore because the eyes have gone all glazed. Now he's gone.
He's dead, Jim.
Now the innkeeper... Really?
Every time.
That was a good call. I like it. The innkeeper then, who is actually more than happy to have Komar dealt with, encourages Matt to leave. Now, before the defenders of the stone show up. I'll make up some story of another Outlander having done this. Tell you what, I dreamed of someone, a tall man, red-colored hair, gray eyes, nobody who's real. I'll just tell him that guy did it, and so no one will be in trouble.
Yeah, that guy can't be real.
Tom then drags Matt away, and as they stumble along out back into the night, Matt mumbles that he's figured it out. My luck. I know how it works now. It's like dice. It works best when things are random. And to find the girls, I'm going to need to do that. I'm going to need to use a random approach. No more searching on a grid, going from inn to inn in a row. I need to just kind of go wherever I'm led, and I will just find what I need. That's how my luck works.
Close my eyes and walk.
Tom is confused. It's like, you killed the man who was after them. What does it matter finding the girls now? And that's when Matt reveals, no, Komar said right there at the end, there's others looking too. The girls are still in danger. We have to find them. But Tom's like, okay, not tonight. We gotta go. They return to the inn. They collapse into bed. They're out. As soon as they can get going the next day, they begin searching again. It's still storming. It's still rain dumping on them. This goes on for 3 days. Non-stop weather as they keep searching. And now Matt is doing what he said. He's just wandering around anywhere. There's no great plan. He's even tossing a coin when he gets to an inn. Should I go in this one or not? Heads or tails?
Question.
He's trying to be very random.
Is it fair to say that, like, climate-wise, this is New Orleans?
I think so. Yeah, I like that. Very similar.
Okay.
I think another city is going to be more New Orleans-like, but this is still going to be similar.
Fair enough.
Yeah. As the searching continues and the storm doesn't let up, Tom's cough doesn't let up either. He starts getting clearly more and more verklempt. He can't sing anymore. He can't give his performances because he can't stop coughing. So he's still going with Matt, but it's just his Gleeman's cloak that's opening people to talk, not his awesome performances. But regardless of where they go and what they check, no one, not a single innkeeper, has seen anyone matching the description of the girls. As the chapter is drawing to a close, Matt, we see, is having bad dreams. In the few hours of sleep they're getting.
Are his dreams real too?
Well, in the few hours of sleep they're getting each night, it's not restful. He's thinking probably because he's worrying too much. But what does he dream about, Zach?
Well, he is dreaming about our girls, Egwene, Nynaeve, Elaine, and some fellow with close-cropped white hair, laughing maniacally, weaving a net around them. It's a whole evil bad guy thing.
Yeah. But sometimes he sees someone else, still the same guy, still weaving a net, but it's for Moraine. And then sometimes he sees that same guy holding a crystal sword that blazes like the sun, which of course we know is Kalendor, but Matt doesn't know anything about Kalendor.
But then again, sometimes he sees Rand holding that sword that is not a sword.
And in fact, Matt seems to dream of Rand a lot.
Weird.
That's like a very recurring one. Yep. Again, Matt's sure the dreams, they've just got to be because he's pushing too hard, but he has no choice. He can't stop. He's got to win this wager.
And so this chapter ends with Matt being super sure about that and us not so much.
And that's where our Wheel of Time content will end for today as well. Now, before we move into a spoiler room section, we do have a question from one of our listeners here.
Okay.
From the Ask Zach and Jim channel on our Discord server. And as it so happens, it's from Emmeline, who's with us here today. She writes, if you were going to turn a favorite fantasy read into a musical, which one would you pick, or which ones would you pick? And which existing musicals would you base it on stylistically? This musical theme continues to plague us.
I have an answer that is both my actual answer, probably, and a joke because reasons.
Okay.
So I would turn Spider-Man into a musical, and it would be in the style of the Spider-Man musical that was done and then shut down because one of the actual props and stunts was so dangerous that it horribly injured someone during the production. Yeah, that's a fun story.
That's kind of dark. I do remember that story when that happened. Any other ones come to mind?
Let's see. I'm thinking, you got anything in mind?
Well, I'm thinking Mistborn the musical would be pretty good.
What's the styling?
We've got some compelling characters there. And, of course, we'd have to do it in the style of Hamilton.
Ah, so you would never watch it. You'd hate it.
I would be extremely torn because I'd love the story, but I would struggle with the format. Yes, but I think it would hold up. That could be done there.
See,
as you follow the story of Vin, coming from nothing all the way through rising to the top and all the stuff that happens.
I'd be down for it. I don't think it would work very well, but it'd be entertaining. I also, again, don't think it would work very well, but it'd be entertaining for me to see the entirety that we have so far of the Song of Ice and Fire series done in the musical styling of the opera version of Macbeth.
There's an opera version of Macbeth?
Yeah. I went and saw it and got a migraine halfway through because it's 5 acts long and at least 3.5 hours and was in Italian, and I had to read above or watch as it was going because I don't speak Italian, but it was very well done. I was also
trying to ruin A Song of Ice and Fire
at the time.
Oh, wait a second. Martin's already done that by not finishing.
Well, I just feel like the very long-winded Italian opera approach would be a really cool juxtaposition with the horrible and grotesque violence.
Okay. Well, I don't have any more. That's the one that came to mind for me because I could actually play it out all through the plot, but I don't want to spoil Mistborn, so I can't do that. It would totally work. It would be good.
Fair enough.
Except it would be rap, so, yeah. All right. Thank you for the question, Emmeline. We appreciate it. We invite anyone of our listeners to jump onto our Discord, find that channel, and put your own question in there. It can be about content we're covering or about anything random at all. It can be personal stuff. If it's not too personal, we'll probably answer it. It can be about anything from science fiction and fantasy or other works of fiction or movies or whatever. We just love the questions.
Absolutely.
And it adds another little layer to our episodes. As we prepare to move towards the spoiler room, we want to remind everybody again, look for ways to connect with us out there. We're all over social media. We love Discord, so jump on to our Discord server like we said at the beginning. And if you're old school and you want to write us an email, we do have an address, fantasyfortheages@gmail.com. All right, I think that's it before spoiler room. So if you are a first-time reader, now's the time to jump out. Great to have you with us. We'll talk to you next time.
And now we can enter that spoiler room. Let's do it. Woo, whoop, whoop. The spoiler room.
Okay. So
I will lose.
Our tradition, we must roll to see who gets initiative. Oh my goodness.
Did you get a nat 20?
No, I got a 3.
My terrible
my worst
7
roll.
is still going to go first.
I don't think I've ever had one that bad on these. Okay. What do you want to spoil?
Okay. I want to spoil talking a little bit here about Matt's luck. That he's figuring it out. He is kind of working this. And I think it's really interesting comparing his luck and how it develops over the series. Because his method here of picking random directions, flipping a coin to decide which inn he goes in or not, really is not that different from how he decides where to go in the Tower of Genji. Very late series.
Yes.
Where he closes his eyes and spins.
And saves himself and a couple others with the random use of his luck.
It is the best and most effective, and seeing that progression as we go, it's not so much that he gets more lucky, but that he knows how to depend on and use his luck better. And I think that's really interesting and cool.
Absolutely.
That's as much spoil as I needed on that, but I just wanted to highlight this is like one of the first times that we see it used like this, not in random large bits of, wow, he's so lucky, or that was crazy, but an intentional, I'm going to trust my luck.
Yep. All right, well, what I'm going to spoil is something we actually didn't highlight all that significantly in the chapter, in the episode, but when Nynaeve led them to the wise woman's place.
Yes.
Because of the herb in the window and how they, go all herb nerd, as you said. When Egwene interrupts the conversation, part of it, what she says, and this is what we didn't mention, was, you're never going to need this knowledge anymore. All this about herbs. And how amazingly wrong Egwene was. Because throughout the series, there are significant times where the fact that Nynaeve does know about herbs and potions and stuff comes into huge play, including in the final book when she manages to keep Alana alive. Again, if you know, you know. She has no access to the power. She can't heal her. She just keeps her alive using herbs. So, bam, right here early on. Oh, you're never going to need that. And yes, she will. So I thought that was cool. And I thought it was cool, too, that Nynaeve kind of pushes back, going, this kind of stuff's always useful. Oh, yes, it will be.
Anyways,
okay,
I think that wraps up our spoiler room today.
That does. Thanks for being with us, everyone, and we will talk to you next time.